Well, hello again, and welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week, and it's extra special this week as well. I'm stuck in the bunker here in suburban Cleveland, Ohio. Our friend, Cub reporter Eric Sfiligoj is out in the field. Where are you, sir?
Yes, Paul, I'm at the McLean Fairgrounds in Bloomington, Illinois at the annual Midwest Ag Industries Exposition, also known, of course, as the MAGIE Show. This year is the 40th anniversary for the show. And actually, there are quite a few folks here. The pre-registration was about 2,000. They were hoping for maybe 2,400 when it was all said and done. Which is on par with the attendance the show had back in 2019, which was the last prior show, since 2020's event, like most events in 2020, was canceled because of COVID concerns. But the people here this year all seem to be fairly positive. The big talk of the show with the manufacturers, I guess, supply issues are biting them as well. We've heard that from a lot of the ag retailers, but the manufacturers, products like steel and nickel are A, hard to get, B, quite expensive, and C, it sounds like when there was normally some wiggle room or negotiation possible on pricing, that has off the table, since there is a big demand and not as much supply. So obviously, you do the math on that, that means you pay more. So.
Yeah, well, that's no surprise across the board. I mean, for fertilizer, fuel, inputs, everything seems to be, those folks that are making those purchases for next year are strategically doing so are more valuable than ever. So let's talk about products first. I mean, I'll let you kind of guide the conversation, but what sorts of new things do we see? It sounds like we're going to see some new stuff this year.
Yeah, actually, there is a lot of new stuff here. I know just prior to me coming to the show, I got the press release from our friends at John Deere saying they were introducing a new floater, the 800R, I believe it is. And that is actually here and was a big draw for attendees. Raven actually brought, they've been working with New Leader on this autonomous spreader, and it actually is running in the field. It's a little further back on the fairgrounds, which is a little bit of a disappointment, but the Raven folks said that because they actually wanted an applying product, they had to give it a little space versus the rest of the other equipment. So that's why it ended up where it did. But again, a lot of buzz about that. Our friends at Rentizo were flying 3 drones at one point yesterday in tandem, and that was a big draw as well. We also had a couple of new tenders, and Case IH had a new application system for their Titans. But of course, the big award we hand out at the show is the Showstopper Award. We've been handing that out since 2007 in conjunction with the folks here at IFCA at the MAGIE Show. And Paul, as you might imagine, based on our video from last week, the big draw to the show, the big talk of the show, and the ultimate showstopper winner was the Fendt Rogator 900 sprayer that was making its market debut here. I know the folks from Fendt AGCO, they brought 4 of those units to this meeting. And I know yesterday, as I kept trying to take pictures of the units, I don't think I have a picture. I was taking them all day long, all 10 hours of the show. I would try to get a picture of just the unit by itself. Wasn't happening. I think the best picture I have has about 6 or 7 people crawling over the unit, looking and checking it out for themselves. So that was the big unit of the show. And I know a lot of the people who were voting for the Showstopper Award said they specifically came to MAGIE this year because they wanted to check out that machine for themselves. So like I say, if you want more information on that, you could look at our video from last week where I talked to Craig Jorgensen from Fendt AGCO about the unit. And if you're attending the Farm Progress Show next week in Decatur, Illinois, just down the street from I'm here in Bloomington, so to speak, it will be there as well. So,
yeah, when we get up and traveling, somebody buys one of those things. I want to see it at a retail facility. That's going to be a real culture shock.
Yeah, yes, I know. A unit from our friends at AGCO in Fendt green colors, but nonetheless, it was sort of the talk of the show. Not that, and again, there were a lot of new things here. I'm sure people had things ready to go for 2020 that they ended up holding on to for a year. And, but yeah, basically, the mood here is generally positive. Everybody seems to think that, even though there've been hiccups this year in 2021, that it'll ultimately end up being a good, profitable year for agriculture. And they expect 22 to be more of the same, with maybe even a little bit of a stronger recovery coming, assuming that we can get all this COVID stuff behind us and, the supply issues take care of themselves and things kind of get back to a quote unquote state of normal.
Excellent. Anything else? Anything else at the show? Any surprises? Anything that was interesting that maybe we weren't looking for?
No, not really a surprise. The one thing that they did do is a special tribute. Of course, our friend Jean Payne, who was the former president of IFCA, had retired actually in the middle of the pandemic. So she never got a going away party, so to speak. So they actually held that last night before we handed out the Showstopper Award. She gave a very nice speech, which hopefully next week I'll be able to provide a video clip of some of the things she said. But she did revisit a little bit of her first time as president of IFCA, which was during 2004, which you may or may not know, Paul, was the only year that the MAGIE show in the 20 years that I've been coming to it, which is half of the show's lifetime, that is the only year that basically there was an hour worth of showtime and then it poured rain the entire rest of the 2 days of the show. So and as Jean related in her story, she thought, well, here I am, the incoming president. The weather gods have cursed me. Everybody is going to want my head and want me to step aside and bring someone in who can bring back nice weather. But obviously that was the hiccup in her reign, because every other year the MAGIE show has been warm and sunny. And actually this year, though, I guess if you want a surprise, it is the heat index. When we got here on Tuesday, there was a heat index warning up because the temperature was only in the low 90s, but the humidity levels were also in the high 90s, which made the total heat index well over 100 degrees. I know when Jean was saying her farewell last night in the food tent, I did a quick little check on my weather app, and it showed the heat index as 106 degrees. And I know today, which is the last day of the show as I'm reporting this, the heat index is supposed to make it up to 103. So a little bit cooler. But if there's a surprise, it's the fact that I had to peel all my clothes off last night when I finally got back to my hotel room. Normally don't have to do that. They're usually a little damp, but this was beyond that.
It's it. And
I know, way too much information. I'm sorry.
Just a little too much information. So real quick before you go, you want to set a reminder on the CropLife 100? I know that survey has been out for a couple of weeks now, right?
Yeah, it's been out a couple of weeks. I've gotten back, and if you guys know, of course, we're looking for 100. So I have about 15% of the surveys back. So with a quick math, you'll realize who's in, who's not. The first deadline for the survey to be back to me is next Friday, September 3rd. And I know there's a few folks who already said, well, we don't close our books until after the end of August. Can I get it to you later? That's not a problem. I realize that. So, but yes, a second batch of surveys to those who have not returned the first will be going out Labor Day week. So if you don't get the survey back to me by September 7th, to expect to see a second one from me with a note basically saying, please, please, please return this. But like I said, we got about 15 in so far, that's not bad for a first go around.
Awesome. Very good. Well, we appreciate you joining us, sir. Safe return back, and enjoy that air conditioning on the way back to Chicago. I know you're going to be flying out of Chicago back home.
Absolutely will. Of course, the biggest problem is I will not have access to a shower until I get home this evening, late. So I suspect that, if they clean the seats in the airlines, they're going to have a really fun time with the one I'm sitting in if they can peel me out of it. So I know way more information than we all need.
With that, we'll thank everyone for joining us for the special edition of CropLife Retail Week. Thanks. We'll see you next week. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below.
Your feedback is important to us. We'll try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode.
And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.